Also, chat, in the middle of that game, guess what? There was a patch and a hotfix. Are you ready? Before we get into the article. Mauga, base health decreased from 400 to 375. Cardiac overdrive no longer feels overhealth on activation. That's one. Duration increased from 4 to 5 seconds, and the cooldown increased from 10 to 12. Mauga is nerfed. So there you go. Mauga is nerfed. Sombra, the previous reduction to ultimate cost has been reverted, which means that there's going to be less EMPs happening. So there you go. And Symmetra, the primary fire damage per second decreased from 65 to 60. Scaling with all levels, maximum damage per second is 180 for the photon projector. And the sentry turret health has been decreased from 50 to 40, meaning you can melee it again. So there you go. I'm actually fine with them keeping the TP one. It allows for more TP plays, but yes. So there you go. They went and did it. A week after the mid-season patch, they said, you know what? Heck this, but guess what? Let's go at the same time. I am glad they saw that and were like, you know what? We have two options here. We get to hear about people complaining about Mauga, or we can get people complaining about the next thing now, whatever it's going to be. No, I'm just kidding. But, like, I'm really glad that they were able to go with this. Only concern, and I was going to say, the only concern here is don't be surprised to see Orisa become meta, because Orisa and Hog are the two heroes that I also mentioned prior to that. So just get ready for that, okay? Here we go. Why Blizzard is overhauling Overwatch 2 to be more generous. And this was put in quotations. All right, here we go. Overwatch 2 Season 10 brings massive changes to the game, including greater affordability. This is on GameSpot, by the way, chat. We'll link it in the chat and the description. It's been a rocky 18 months for the Overwatch 2 team after releasing back in 2022. It's been a year and a half, holy crap, to positive yet underwhelming reviews, scrapping the game's once promised PvE hero mode, feels bad, and more recently undergoing large-scale layoffs that hit core members like former lead narrative designer Gavin. As much as I wish I knew how to say his last name, but I've always heard good things and had some really awesome stuff. That was also a very feels bad. There's been a bit of uncertainty in regards, yes, not the Gavin in chat. I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know how to say his last name. I don't want to butcher it, but I've heard nothing but good things, and he had a lot of amazing stuff with the narrative and like the lore and all that. So, however, the studio's next steps might just help get things back on track. Since release, players have been vocal about their grievances with Overwatch 2's pricing. We've seen it a lot. Though the game itself is free to play and its new heroes obtainable through the free battle pass so long as you sink some serious time into leveling up, there has been criticism of the series' pivot to a battle pass system, the high price of cosmetics, and the low distribution of coins according to Overwatch 2 game director Aaron Keller. Much of this is changing very soon, which we saw today in the article. I like how there's a Rainbow Six Siege ad right here in this Overwatch article. Is that a good price for that? I don't even know. Sorry, I just randomly saw that. All right. Starting in mid-April, when Season 10 kicks off, all Overwatch heroes will be free to play upon release. This is something that we just found out earlier. Coins will be given more generously and tied to the game's free battle pass rather than its challenges in a new store, the Mythic shop. Will offer players a great deal of choice in what they work towards unlocking each season. In addition, players can now earn battle passes, as every 2 seasons there will be enough coins given through the game's free battle pass to purchase the premium version. Keller says the team will focus more on reworking maps going forward, as well as introducing modes and systems that can improve the game's PvP elements. In short, there's a lot to be tentatively excited about. And that's a good way to put it, is like, I am very optimistic with everything we've seen in the developer update and where they're going forward, but it's okay to be like tentatively excited because it's still a wait and see where it goes, right? GameSpot recently had the opportunity to sit down with Keller and discuss these changes in Overwatch 2's new direction, as well as how he feels about Overwatch 2's overall health and how this new, decidedly more generous approach impacts the company's bottom line. So this is going to be a lot more information apparently from what we learned earlier. So we're going to get into this article, see what the questions are, see where they're at. And yeah, let's go from there. All right? As Overwatch 2 approaches 100 million players, wow. How do you feel about the overall state of the game, its health as a live service title, and its overall balance? What if he was just like terrible? No. Overall, Overwatch is on a roll. I feel like we had a really big Season 9, by the way, best season they've had. And we have a lot of things coming in April for Season 10, which is good because one of my biggest concerns was, one of my major concerns was the follow-up season needed to be good because you can have one good season, but you need to keep having good seasons after that. Otherwise, players will start to kind of, chill for a bit. So hearing that Season 10 is also going to be stacked with a new hero is a good thing. And I think a lot of this has to do with our refocus on the core PvP elements of the game. This is the game that everyone has been playing for the last almost 8 years, which is crazy to think about. That's almost 8 years. And I think it's part of the game that makes it special and it gives its magic. Our characters, the way they control, the way that they use their abilities, and the way they rely on their teammates to win a fight is really special. Also, side note, for anybody just joining us, Mauga got nerfed today, as well as Sim and Sombra. I know some people are just joining us. They just put a patch out already a week after. There was issues with that. I just want to point that out. So the team is putting a lot of time and energy into making the side of the game as good as it can possibly be. And I think we're all really excited to continue to do that and really excited for what it means for Overwatch's future. I mean, it's definitely, like I said, I'm on the optimistic side, which, I mean, I know watching my stream or my YouTube video, I'm sure chat's very surprised I'm more on the optimistic side. All right. How do you feel about the decision to go to a battle pass versus loot boxes? Ooh, good question. Is there a significant difference in the creative process or in the workload? Do you feel good about that decision at this point? Great question so far on GameSpot here, huh? Running a free-to-play live service game is very difficult to do, especially one at a really large scale. And you look at the industry and the market, and there is a lot of talk around free-to-play games. Some of the biggest games on the market are that, but there are not as many of them as you think, especially ones that are running on such a scale. So for us, we introduced a store to players because we want there to be more player agency and more player choice in what they get. And I think that just being able to go into a shop and be able to purchase what you want is a more direct and fair experience for our game and for our players. I'll go to this part. I also think that if you just look at, like, I remember there was a chart years ago where they showed how much free-to-play games make and how much games that are like more like what Overwatch was doing. Past that statement, free-to-play games, they go this route because obviously the amount that like a game like Fortnite was making in comparison to games that were more of like, what do they call them back then? Like box games or something like that. The free-to-play games are just dominated in every which way when it came to the revenue side of things. So it's just like, eventually a lot of the games are going to end up doing that. Like I'm saying, like to add on to that. We heard from some players that they enjoyed the loot box system, and it's hard sometimes to put words in players' mouths or to infer intent. But the way I take that is I think that players enjoyed being able to earn as much as possible in the game without necessarily paying for it. And when Overwatch switched to a free-to-play business model, we were no longer able to continue to release cosmetics that way. So Aaron's basically saying if we tried to do that without that, we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing. It's kind of funny. That reminds me of where he says we don't want to put the words in players' mouths. I don't know if that's in reference to, remember with World of Warcraft Classic, where people kept asking for a Classic version, and they're like, you know what? You think you want Classic, but you don't. And now Classic is a very popular game mode that people play constantly, and they're constantly iterating on it. Remember that one? Yeah, you don't want to play Classic. No, we really do. You think you do, but you don't. No, we do. It's fun. We like the leveling. Yeah, well, oh, by the way, we're now releasing Classic WoW. So that's always a good one to go off of. With that in mind, what inspired the decision to remove heroes from the Battle Pass? We're pretty confident that removing heroes from the Battle Pass is not just what's best for our players, but it's what's best for our game. Yes, I agree. When we first launched Overwatch 2, we had to worry about running a cosmetics-only business with a game that had all of these different heroes that you could purchase individual and unique cosmetics for might not be successful. Well, I get what they're saying. They didn't want it to be a game where it's all cosmetic-based. But putting any type of gameplay behind a paywall, that can have an effect on the competitive integrity of the game. And I think they didn't necessarily run into this issue, right? I think they really saw this issue with Mauga. Because for, like, Lifeweaver, they didn't have that issue, right? Because if you had Lifeweaver on your team, it was pay to lose at that point. You were getting rolled, right? Like, if you got a Lifeweaver, yeah, Lifeweaver couldn't do anything at the beginning. Now Lifeweaver's really good. But, like, Lifeweaver's a great hero now, but at the beginning it was tough. It was tough, right? So it really wasn't until they got to, like, Mauga where they're like, wait a second. What happens if this person hasn't played a ton, and now Mauga's meta, and they have to go against Mauga, and then that's where you saw more pay to win, and then that's where, like, it came down to, it was, like, Battle Pass diff. So that's why they bring up the competitive integrity on top of that, because it is. Like, it finally happened where one of the heroes they had. Also, chat, this also, you know how they always said they want to go on the safe side of strong? This actually allows for them to have the heroes be relevant at the beginning of a season or at the beginning of a release, without having to go into the issue of like, you have to buy the battle pass to be able to play that really OP hero. I'm not saying they're going to do that, but now they can go back to that safe side of strong without that concern of like, well, if these players don't have it, now you log in and you get the thing. For anybody just joining us, they announced that in Season 10, you will get all heroes now. So like, it won't be like you have to pay for them anymore or you have to unlock them. You will get your heroes when you play. Outside of when you're in a new account. That's different. So that was announced today, going into Season 10. All right. And so we try to mitigate that. We put heroes in the free battle pass. We created challenges to unlock some of the heroes. We also tried to remove some of the hard counters from the game to maybe make that effect a little bit less pronounced and prominent. And those things didn't completely alleviate the problem. After about a year and a half of releasing seasons that have heroes in them and heroes not in them, I think we've seen that we can safely remove heroes from the battle pass and still run a successful business. Corazon, thanks for the tier 1, thank you. So that's why they're talking about that. And what success means to us is the ability to have a team that's still creating new heroes, creating new maps, and game modes, and all of the features that we're making into the foreseeable future. We're really excited about this, and we really think that it's the right thing for the game and the right thing for their players. And just to go back to this for 1 second, just to talk about this, just to kind of circle back, it is good they're doing this. Having it so heroes are free when you log in and play is 10 times better than the player has to either buy the premium battle pass at the beginning to want to be able to play that hero with everybody else. Now you can just play it. So Venture will be the first hero that you'll be able to do that, and then every hero after that, so you'll be good to go. Moving on to the opening of the Mythic shop. I'm very curious on this because I didn't have enough details. Do you know what pricing model for that is going to look like? Or the price points? Will it be implemented similarly to Fortnite, where you have a limited time that these Mythic skins are available and they cycle out? The Mythic shop, which launches in Season 10, is what's going to allow our players to have the choice to pick which Mythic skin they want to unlock or that they want to purchase. And the way that they buy a Mythic skin is through a currency called Mythic Prisms. And the best way to earn Mythic Prisms is in the Premium Battle Pass. So as players work through the Battle Pass, they will be awarded Prisms. And if you get all the way through the Battle Pass, you'll have enough Prisms to unlock a Mythic skin and fully upgrade it, whether it's the newest Mythic skin for Season 10 or some previous Mythic skins. Okay, so what they're saying is, I'll keep reading actually. You will have the ability to purchase Mythic Prisms as well, but we think that the best way to do it is through the Battle Pass. As for whether the skins would come directly to the Mythic shop, new skins will be released through the Mythic shop. That's where they'll make their debut and will be available through that season. Then, they'll be pulled out of the shop for the next 2 seasons, reintroduced to it after that, and be permanently available. So when the Mythic shop launches in Season 10, you'll be able to get Mythic skins from Season 1 through 7, as well as the new Mythic skins. So what they're saying here is, if you get the Premium Battle Pass, which I don't think they talked about the price point of the Battle Pass changing, you'll be able to get the Prisms, and then you can go and unlock a Mythic skin. But here's my question. Technically, you can unlock multiple Mythic skins in one season, but you won't get full customization. So if, say, you wanted to get, like, the base level of, like, the Tracer skin and the Sigma skin, you could, in theory, possibly do that, is my understanding. And then you can build off of those later on. Yes, this is exactly what they were talking about back at BlizzCon. This is literally what they talked about, yes. Where they said you're going to be able to get any of the Mythics you initially want. Yeah, that's what they were talking about. You said whack the whole point of the Battle Pass since it's exclusively? Yeah, but, like, my guess is, outside of if people buy it, which, I mean, I'm sure people will buy the Mythic skins, but, when people earn the skins through the Battle Pass, I don't think they're going to be able to go and buy 8 skins. It's going to take a while. Each season will be different. They have to make the choice on what skin they want. I mean, I'm sure some players will buy a full skin with customization. I'm sure some players will get the base level skin on multiple of them. I don't know how it works. I don't know how it goes. I still need to see more information, but now I understand the Mythic Prism thing, how it works, which is more than we learned about an hour ago. So now I need to see the next step and all of that. But Mistaken Nebula, thanks for the 4 months of the feature prize. Thank you. Appreciate it. You mentioned there would be greater player choice for Mythic skins. How is that going to play out? The biggest thing with the Mythic shop is the ability to choose which Mythic skin you want to acquire. But there's even more player choice involved in it. Mythic skins will be broken up into the base skin as well as the different upgrades that you can purchase. And like I said before, if you work your way through the Premium Battle Pass, you'll have enough currency to unlock the base skin as well as all of the upgrades for it. But you might not want to fully upgrade a Mythic skin. It might be that the last tier isn't as exciting for you as some of the upgrades for other Mythic skins that you already have. And so as you get Mythic Prisms, you'll be able to kind of choose where you want to spend them. You can spread out upgrades to a bunch of the different Mythic skins, or you have, or go all in on one that you're really excited about. So this is what they were talking about, where you're going to have the choice. You're going to have the choice of what Mythic skin you want, and then you go from there. So that's pretty much what it was initially. And those prisms carry from season to season? Yes, so you can technically stack up your prisms. Do you have any plans to compensate players who purchase the premium battle passes to get those heroes instantly and might find it unfair? I mean, first of all, I love that GameSpot's asking all the hard questions here too. They say currently, no, we're not planning on offering any refunds for the past battle pass purchases. And they hit him with a question. Are there any other changes coming to the game's battle pass you'd like to elaborate on? Yeah, we're going to be pulling the coins that players can earn from our weekly challenges and putting them into the free version of the battle pass. We're also going to be increasing the number of coins that you can earn each season to 600. The reason we're doing that is because we didn't think that players were earning enough coins in the weekly challenges, and we want players to be able to consistently do that. We want the game to feel like it's rewarding people's playtime. So when we looked at the data, we saw they weren't earning enough, and putting them in the battle pass now is going to make it a more consistent experience for them. The intent is for it to be a more generous experience for them, and when you look at it for a free battle pass, being able to earn 600 coins is actually a lot. Every 2 seasons, without ever paying for a battle pass, players will be able to earn a new one plus some additional coins. So basically, you kind of were able to do that. Wait, what's 540? Yeah, you were able to do that before with the coins, but now it guarantees you get more. And I think some people will mention Fortnite. I think Fortnite does the way where you can get a new battle pass each season, but I wonder if that's also because in battle passes in Fortnite, they just like the amount of, I don't know. I'd have to see all the data on that stuff. So I have no idea. I would love one day for them to there to be like a deep dive on how the battle passes in some games do, where they give you a free battle pass the next season, etc. I have no idea how that stuff works. Are there any more concerns about how this will impact the company's bottom line with giving away so many things now? I hope that they say this is fine and they give us more drops, right, chat? More drops? Soul, thanks for the future, man. Thank you, appreciate it. Come on, give me more drops, please. Thank you so much. There was a lot of thought and intention behind these changes, and we do recognize that pulling heroes out of the battle pass could have an effect on our revenue. But we do think that with the introduction of the Mythic Shop, that's something that can offset that and allow Overwatch to continue to be successful. The whole point is we want to be able to keep our game sustainable so that we're able to continue making all of the things that we've been talking about. We want our team to be able to continue to make all of that. So our focus is to continue to be successful in order to be able to do it. You said the dev post says you can earn free and premium tracks, so one typo premium gives more than 600, does it? Yeah, I'd have to see. I don't know how it works. I don't know any of the information. Oh, this is a long answer. In your presentation, you talked about prioritizing balance and reworking maps going forward based on player feedback. How do you get that player feedback, and what does implementation of that look like? So remember when they always said that, this is because of player feedback? So every blog post is because it's you, chat. All these changes because listening to more players and developing the game alongside them is important to us. Getting the information can be more complicated, and there's a lot of different ways we do it. We run a lot of player surveys. We bring in focus groups of players also to play our content. That's always cool that they do that. And actually go through in person or on a call interview process. That's one side of it. That's cool. The other side is we have a really, really great community team that's always following the discussion online. So chat, when you post a play of the game of your Reddit post, they see it. The developers are doing that too, but it really lies on that group of people to be doing that. Sorry, I got lost in the sentence here. There's always writing reports, so I think that we have our ear to the ground there. We also collect a lot of data as well, and I don't think the data is always conclusive, but you use it alongside the other things that we're doing. This is stuff that's way out of, I have no idea how all this stuff adds up and how they do it. For instance, you asked about map reworks. One of the things that we look at with our data is the number of levers that we have for particular maps. And if it looks like it's out of the balance, if the number of levers for a particular map is higher than the others, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's less popular or that people have a particular issue with it, but it's definitely a signal for us to start investigating. We pull all of that together when we start looking at these things, and I think that when you talk about map rework specifically, we have heard from the community that there's particular maps in the game that they don't like as much as other ones, which can happen in any game, right? If there's maps you don't like, that can happen, right? If you look at the history of Overwatch, we've been really good about doing hero reworks. Even when those hero reworks are very substantial and require additional work from a lot of different departments on the team, we go ahead and do it. I will say, I still, and maybe chat will disagree or agree with me here. I feel like the idea of the Hog change was to make Hog a little bit less annoying to play against. And it feels like Hog is still that same type of tank. But outside of that, yeah, I mean, I've enjoyed the other variations of stuff they've done. I don't know how to explain it. That's also just me, on that one. Okay, and typically when we do map reworks, it's a smaller thing. And it's just been recently where we've started doing larger map reworks. Like our Gibraltar rework is bigger than we typically do, which was great. The Gibraltar rework, I loved. And we got a lot of really positive feedback from players. Same with Junkertown, though. I like that change, too. So we think that doing map reworks or even a season where we have a bunch of them at once could potentially be actually more exciting for our players than releasing a new map in that season. They're not wrong. I think 4 reworked maps, and I know some people be like, oh, they need to add new maps to that too. I think if they can really put effort, like if they can take those maps and do what they did with like Junkertown, I would not complain if Dorado, Havana, Circa Royale, and Nambani all had that. That would be a great season because now you have maps that have been like issues across the board to be much more playable maps. I like the idea of that. Personally, I like the idea of that. Now, granted, we have to see what those reworks are, if they're going to be good, if they're going to be bad, but I like that they're willing to take that next step of going back and looking at maps that have been issues for players and making it a better experience. Because being like, yeah, you know what? We'll just keep Nambani the way it is. We'll keep Havana the way it is. Like, we're going to work on our new maps. Being able to look back at that, create new maps, and also at the same time be able to rework those maps, I'm all for that. I've been asking for reworks in Dorado for years. Dorado has the same struggle. No one wants to take the high ground because it takes too damn long to get to the high ground. You need more access to the high ground to be able to actually play the map. And now, hopefully, that's what they lead into there. I can't wait to see. I would love to give feedback on Dorado because I'm telling you, I played that map so much and it's the same things. I don't know if they normally come for that, so we'll see. How do you balance making changes to existing things that current players really like versus keeping it enticing for people who aren't playing the game yet? We do a lot of balance changes in Overwatch, and I think when we do it, it can provide a momentary exciting piece of a season or a period of time for players, but it is short-lived. The recent Mauga patch. When you look at Overwatch as a whole, it's actually a pretty simple game. There's not a lot of complex systems that are happening inside of gameplay or even typically around a match that are affecting the way people think about the way they play. There's not an in-game shop, for example, and you're not making those sort of decisions. When they say in-game shop, they're not saying like in League. Actually, isn't there a shop in like Paladins too? Is that correct? I haven't played Paladins. Isn't there like a shop in there too where you can like upgrade your items and stuff? Basically, they're saying you have no upgrades or anything. Or like cards or anything like that. You're really just picking your hero, getting your team to come together, and then going out on a very even playing field with the enemy team. I mean, I think people who play ranked will argue the very even playing field. I think that will continue to make balance change. I think that we will continue to make balance changes to the game. I hope so. It needs it because, one, the meta is always changing, but it also keeps the game fresh for players, which I agree. But on top of that, I think that one of the things that the Overwatch team is talking about right now is, are there other systems that we could potentially add to the game that can add some type of strategic depth that we think players might want while still keeping the game pure to what it is, which is a very fast-paced competitive game without there being a lot of things to think about while you're involved in enemy combat. We don't really have anything to announce with that, but it's just more of a direction on the way that we're thinking. Does that mean they're going to make it so you can just have 5 Roadhogs? We don't really have, if we were to introduce systems like that, it's also the sort of thing besides just balance that we would be able to periodically change to give those moments of freshness to the experience, which I think adding like a new experience to the game is always going to be a good thing. You don't want the game to get too stale for people, right? And especially now in current gaming, as we've seen, players like new stuff. So keeping the game fresh and making changes can happen. And then you can always, have a little bit of fun with it too. So that's kind of where they're at with that one. Moving along. Okay, this is the last one coming up here. Perfect. This has been a great article, by the way, and great questions. Jess did an excellent job. Moving along, I would like to hear a little bit more about Clash mode. Clash is the newest game mode that we're developing for Overwatch 2, and we're going to be running a preview of it in Season 10. The preview is going to take place on one of the 2 Clash maps that we'll be releasing. I'm glad it's 2 maps, by the way. A little bit later this year called Hanaoka. We showed it a bit at BlizzCon, and I think that one way you could look at Clash, it has a little bit of inspiration from a mode that we had in the original Overwatch called Assault 2CP. Let's not get started on that. With that mode, it was about taking 2 control points in a row. It was like some of our other modes where there's an offense and a defense. The big difference with Clash is that it's a symmetrical map and a symmetrical game mode, which means that both teams are playing offense and defense the same way that you do in Push. Let's say, but it's still arranged with points in a row. And so exciting thing about Clash is that you have those moments where you're just trying to break through and try to take the next point. But as opposed to Assault, it can go two directions. So basically, you can go back and forth. Tug of war, right? Kind of what it sounds like. The game mode is really about momentum and how you come together as a team in order to stop the enemy's team advance. Then regroup and start pushing into the enemy territory. It does require a lot of teamwork and a lot of coordination, and that's part of the mode that we're a little bit worried about. That's part of why we're excited to be running a trial with it, because now we can put it out in front of players, get a bunch of feedback on how they think about it, and make the appropriate changes before we release it a little later this year. For anybody who missed that or is understanding where that comes from, what they're saying is at the beginning of Season 10, we're going to be able to test this mode. Everybody is. So at the beginning of Season 10, on this map, Hanaoka, the new one, you're going to be able to test that game mode for a little bit. I'm not sure how long. And then they're going to take that feedback and then come back with the game mode later on. So at Season 10, on top of a new hero, you're going to be able to try Clash, try some new things, all that. All right? Yeah, that was a great article. I mean, wonderfully done. Good questions. Obviously, some answers that, some questions that were probably, they're like, okay. So, not too bad.